All right, so today we are really diving deep into something. Uh, have you ever wished you have like a mental cheat code for self-belief,
Oh, yeah.
for resilience? Well, that's kind of what this cookie jar concept is all about. We're going to dig into that today.
Love it.
So it's not just like, oh yeah, remember that one time you did that great thing. This is about actually using those past wins strategically to overcome challenges that you're facing right now.
I love this because it really speaks to this idea of, we're not just trying to pump ourselves up with empty positivity.
Mhm.
This is about drawing on real evidence, real experience. Like, think about those tough times you've been through, right?
Yeah.
The stuff you had to really work for, maybe even surprised yourself with. Those are your cookies, man. Like, those go right in the jar, and they're like these little nuggets of proof that you're way more capable than you might think sometimes.
And the thing that really gets me about this is, you're not depending on someone else to tell you you're awesome. You already have the proof, right?
Yeah, you've got the receipts.
You've got the receipts. It's all internal validation. So I'm kind of curious, though, like we're talking about more than just a good feeling here, right? What's actually happening in our brains when we do this?
Well, it boils down to this idea of self-efficacy, right? That's that deep down belief in your ability to handle specific situations.
Okay.
And when you actively recall a time you crushed a similar challenge, you're basically telling your brain, hey, remember that? We did that. We can totally do this too.
It's like giving your brain a pep talk with actual proof.
It's evidence-based motivation. It also ties into this cool thing called state-dependent memory. Have you ever noticed how, like, when you think back to a big win, you kind of feel some of those same emotions again?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like remembering the feeling of finishing a marathon, even if I'm just, walking to the fridge, it gives me a little boost.
Right. And that's because those memories aren't just facts and figures. They're encoded with the emotions and sensations you felt at the time. So accessing them can actually bring back some of that energy, that drive.
So we're not just remembering what we did, we're remembering how it felt to do it.
Exactly. And this all feeds into cognitive reframing too.
Okay.
Instead of getting totally consumed by how hard something feels right now, you're shifting your perspective to your history of overcoming obstacles. It's like saying, yeah, this is rough, but I've handled rough before, and I came out on top.
I like that. It's like reframing the challenge as just another chapter in your personal success story.
Right. And think about it. Remembering those successes also acts as a form of stress inoculation.
Okay, how so?
Well, by revisiting times you effectively dealt with stress, the current situation feels less threatening. You've been there, done that, got the proverbial t-shirt.
So it's like practice for your brain, but with real life, high stakes scenarios.
That's exactly. And all of this, consistently tapping into your cookie jar, it reinforces this identity of you as someone who doesn't quit, someone who achieves.
So it's not just about overcoming the challenge in front of you, it's about building this self-image of a winner.
Yeah, it becomes part of who you are, like a superpower you can tap into whenever you need it.
I'm loving this. Okay, so this isn't something that just happens automatically, right? How do we actually build this cookie jar or take a good inventory of what's already in there? I'm guessing it's more than just casually thinking back to good times.
You're right. It takes some intention, like really carve out time to reflect, not just the highlights, but the nitty-gritty challenges you've faced, and document it, write it down, almost like you're creating these mini case studies of your own successes.
So it's about getting really specific about the tough stuff, right?
Totally. Like, what was the exact nature of the challenge? What actions did you take? What skills did you use? How did it turn out? Detail, detail, detail.
It's like writing little success stories starring you.
Exactly. And don't just stick to the facts. Capture the emotions, the physical sensations, even what you were telling yourself in those moments. Those details make the memories so much stronger, easier to access when you need them.
So you're painting a really vivid picture of that moment in your mind.
Exactly. Now think about quick access triggers for these memories. It could be a keyword, a mental image, a physical sensation, anything that instantly zaps you back to that feeling of accomplishment. And last but not least, review regularly. Don't just build the jar and forget about it. Like a garden, you got to tend to it, keep those memories fresh.
So make it a habit, not a one-time thing.
Exactly.
Okay, my mental cookie jar is already overflowing, and I haven't even started filling it properly yet.
Let's get practical.
Yeah.
How does this work in real life situations? Let's start with something relatable, like that final mile of a race for a runner, where your legs are screaming at you.
Right. The perfect example. For a runner, it starts with that strategic inventory we talked about.
Okay.
But they'd focus on recalling all their runs, not just the easy ones, the ones where they had to push through pain, fatigue, even bring in those non-running endurance moments like maybe a tough hike, a long, mentally draining project at work, anything that shows their ability to tough it out.
So it's about broadening the definition of what a cookie can be. Absolutely. And crucially, they'd recall those past races where they nailed that final mile. Pay attention to how their body felt, what they told themselves to keep going. It's like mentally scrolling through their running resume right before they need it most.
Love it.
Then, while they're running, especially as they hit that wall, they can use pre-planned physical triggers to access those memories. Maybe it's a breathing pattern, a change in their stride, even a short phrase like, "This is where I unleash my cookie jar." It's all about intentionally bringing those memories to the forefront.
So they're almost like little mental shortcuts to access those feelings of strength and determination.
Exactly. And they can focus on a specific memory of overcoming similar pain, fatigue. Some runners like to break that mile into smaller segments and link each to a different powerful memory. It's all about turning that overwhelming mile into a series of manageable mini challenges they know they can conquer.
And whether they crush that race or not, documenting how they felt, what strategies they used, that adds another cookie to the jar for next time.
Exactly. And if
Yeah.
that runner wants to push their limits, go even further than before, they've got this strategy of progressive challenge. As they increase their distances, they tailor their cookie jar to match. They might focus on memories of their longest runs or break down a past tough run into segments and use those to mentally conquer a new distance. It's all about using past successes as stepping stones to reach even bigger goals.
That is brilliant. Okay, let's shift gears now. Picture a business professional about to give a high-stakes presentation. Totally different kind of pressure cooker.
Oh, for sure. But the same principles apply. For them, prep should ideally start a week or two in advance.
Okay.
This is where they document past presentation wins, anytime they performed well under pressure, times they took feedback and nailed it. It's about building this growth narrative that shows they've been there and gotten better over time. That becomes a powerful cookie itself.
So it's like a testament to their ability to learn, adapt, and improve under pressure.
Exactly. And they should pinpoint 3 to 5 challenging moments from past presentations, like tough questions, technical hiccups, and how they handled them. These recovery cookies are gold.
So it's not about pretending you've never messed up. It's about showing how you recovered and still delivered.
Right. Now, during practice, before each run-through, they bring to mind a memory of a presentation that went really well. This primes their brain for success. When they stumble, they recall a past challenge they overcame, like forgetting their notes but speaking confidently anyway. And those anchor phrases, like "I've rocked tougher crowds than this," linked to those past wins, can be incredibly powerful.
So it's about attaching those positive emotions from the past
Yeah.
to the challenges of the present.
Exactly. And recording their practice, noting what went well, that's more evidence for the cookie jar.
Smart. But what about the day of the presentation? Nerves can still hit, right?
Absolutely. That's where a quick morning review comes in. A past presentation win, a graceful recovery from a mistake, a time they stayed calm under fire. It sets the tone. Right before they go on, a visualization of a past success is a powerful trigger. They can even put little trigger notes in their materials, maybe a keyword on a slide linked to specific empowering memories. It's like having a secret stash of confidence boosters right there with them. And afterward, document the experience, what went well, what they learned, how they dealt with the unexpected. All of that enriches the cookie jar for next time.
It's like turning every presentation into a learning opportunity, regardless of the outcome.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway is to focus on those transferable skills: composure, clarity, connection, and to find that balance between thorough prep and being able to tap into your internal resources when you need them most.
I'm feeling so much more confident just thinking about this. All right, what about a challenge that's not a single event, but a longer-term thing? Someone's hit a wall learning guitar, for instance. They're frustrated, making no progress.
That's where something more structured can help, like a guitar progress cookie jar worksheet. This kind of tool uses prompts to really dig deep. So a section on technical achievements might ask you to list techniques you've mastered that were once super hard. Recall how many practice sessions it took, what the challenge felt like, that feeling of finally nailing it.
Okay, so you're breaking down this big, scary plateau into smaller, achievable wins they can look back on.
Exactly. Another section might be repertoire milestones. songs they can now play but were once way out of reach. Prompts would focus on the hardest parts, those aha moments, the satisfaction of playing it flawlessly. Then there's a persistence evidence section. This is about remembering those practice sessions when they wanted to quit but didn't. Their longest practice streak, the strategies that help them stay consistent.
It's amazing how we often forget those moments of grit and just focus on the end result.
Absolutely. We need to celebrate that persistence. Then there's a growth comparison section. Reflecting on something they can now play that would baffle their beginner self, or specific aspects of their playing that have clearly improved. And lastly, a really crucial one, external validation converted to internal evidence.
All right.
This is where they write down positive feedback from teachers, other musicians, even just friends who enjoyed their playing, and then they internalize it, see how it validates their progress. The worksheet also includes an implementation plan. This is where they personalize how they'll use their guitar progress cookie jar during those inevitable frustrating moments, and even create their own trigger phrases linked to those wins.
This is fantastic for individual progress. But what if a whole team hits a snag? Like a sales team loses a huge account, morale takes a nosedive. Can the cookie jar help there?
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets super powerful. A dedicated team meeting, maybe an hour, could be a game changer. You'd start by explaining the cookie jar, but frame it as building collective resilience, not just being happy-clappy in the face of disappointment. Then, 10 minutes for individual reflection, maybe with prompts. Think about major accounts won, despite the odds, times the team bounced back from setbacks, great team achievements, and what made them possible. Examples of collaboration turning potential losses into wins.
So each person is focusing on their own contributions to past successes.
Exactly. Then, 10 minutes for pair sharing. Team members take turns sharing one key achievement, and the listener highlights the skills, qualities, and teamwork they heard. This builds awareness of their collective strengths. The next step, maybe 15 minutes, is creating a team cookie jar together. It could be a document, whiteboard, whatever works. Brainstorm categories of wins, like against all odds wins, comeback victories, things like that. Then everyone contributes specific examples for each category, describing the challenge, the actions, the skills, the positive outcome.
I can already see the power of having this visual representation of all those wins right there for everyone to see.
It's incredibly motivating. Now, break into smaller groups, say 15 minutes. Each group picks a current challenge, including that lost account, and finds 2 or 3 cookies from the team jar that highlight relevant skills or approaches. They then outline concrete steps for applying those past wins to the present situation. In the last 5 minutes, you formalize the team cookie jar, making it accessible to everyone, setting protocols for adding new cookies, using it for future challenges, and referencing it in weekly meetings. You also want individual commitments for how each person will actively utilize the team cookie jar in the coming week. To keep it going, set up a system for brief cookie jar reviews before weekly sales meetings, maintain that shared document for new entries, and maybe even have a rotating cookie jar champion to champion the system and encourage its use.
This is such a practical and positive way to help a team not only recover from a setback, but also get stronger and more resilient together. Now, we've spent a lot of time exploring the cookie jar. I'm curious, how does it compare to other popular motivational techniques like, say, positive affirmations?
That's a great question. While both aim for a more positive mindset, they work in very different ways. The cookie jar is grounded in evidence, real experiences, and proven abilities. Affirmations are often aspirational statements about the future or desired qualities that might not be based on past personal history.
So one's based on what you've done, the other on what you hope to become.
Exactly. The cookie jar is also super specific, using detailed memories with emotions and sensations. Affirmations tend to be broad, general statements about oneself. Cognitively, the cookie jar taps into episodic memory, those detailed event recollections, and our autobiographical memory, our life story. Affirmations engage more semantic processing and abstract self-concept. The source of validation is different, too. With the cookie jar, it's internal. Your own history is the proof. With affirmations, it's more external. You're adopting and repeating prescribed statements.
So one's about self-discovery, the other about self-persuasion.
In a way, yes, and the timing often varies. You use the cookie jar during challenges when you need that instant reminder of strength. Affirmations are often practiced preventatively to build a positive mindset.
So when would each be most effective?
The cookie jar shines during acute challenges, especially for those with self-doubt despite past achievements. It's great for accessing specific skills used successfully before for challenges mirroring past experiences, and for people who respond better to evidence than encouragement. Affirmations are better for building self-belief in new areas with little experience. They're helpful for pre-challenge prep, addressing general self-worth for those with limited achievement history, and in groups where shared affirmations create a collective belief.
It sounds like they're not mutually exclusive, though.
Right. Often, the best approach is combining both. Use affirmations for general self-efficacy in areas without much experience, while relying on the cookie jar for specific challenges with solid personal evidence. In fact, transitioning from mainly affirmations to a robust cookie jar can signify growth as those aspirations become grounded in real experience.
Interesting. Now let's get a bit more advanced. Can we integrate the cookie jar with established performance theories like goal setting?
Absolutely. That's where we see incredible performance potential. By connecting the cookie jar with Locke and Latham's goal-setting theory, which focuses on specific, challenging, and achievable goals, and adding elements of achievement goal theory, which looks at mastery versus performance, and self-determination theory, which emphasizes autonomy, competence, and relatedness for motivation, we get a powerful approach. I call it the Integrated Cookie Jar Performance Model, or ICJPM. Think of it as a blueprint for using past successes to fuel future goals, all based on solid psychology.
Sounds comprehensive. How does this ICJPM work in practice?
It has two phases. First, strategic achievement inventory and goal alignment. Here, we dive deep into the athlete's cookie jar, but categorize achievements by the psychological resource they represent, like persistence, problem-solving under pressure, focus despite distractions. We also identify triggers that activate these memories. At the same time, the athlete builds a goal framework, from big-picture outcomes down to specific controllable actions. The key is aligning these goals with specific cookies in their inventory. We map past successes that use similar resources to the challenges of their current goals. We also identify potential obstacles and pre-plan which cookies can be accessed at those points to stay motivated and overcome them.
It's intentionally connecting past resources to future demands.
Exactly. The second phase is the implementation cycle, happening before, during, and after performance. Beforehand, the athlete reviews the goal-specific cookies relevant to upcoming challenges. They rehearse accessing those memories and strategically place triggers in their performance plan. During the performance, they use those triggers to access relevant cookie jar memories at specific points, matching the type of achievement to the challenge. Like, if fatigue sets in, they recall a past training session where they pushed through similar exhaustion. After, there's an integration phase. They document their experience, noting how effectively they used the cookie jar and its impact. This adds to their cookie jar. They analyze goal achievement, assess what worked well, and improve for next time.
How do you measure if this ICJPM is working?
We track metrics in 4 areas. First, cookie jar utilization metrics: frequency of access, duration of recall, diversity of cookies used, and effectiveness of triggers. Second, goal achievement metrics: completion rate, progress toward long-term goals, quality of adjustments. Third, psychological resource metrics: resilience, self-efficacy, and anxiety reduction using questionnaires. Finally, performance outcome metrics: objective indicators like times, distances, accuracy, and subjective measures like consistency and recovery capacity. We also have an implementation assessment cycle: weekly micro adjustments based on daily data, monthly reviews to spot patterns and modify the program, and quarterly comprehensive assessments to check alignment between goals, cookie jar content, and outcomes. Finally, an effectiveness tracking protocol. Baseline measurements are taken before starting, then tracked through logs, assessments, and reviews. We compare achievement rates, consistency, and resource development over time to the baseline.
That's a really data-driven approach. Our sources also talked about the cookie jar compared to other resilience techniques like cognitive reframing and mindfulness. How do those stack up?
They are great tools, each with strengths and limitations. The cookie jar shines in building evidence-based self-efficacy through concrete personal examples. It connects a personal identity as an overcomer. It's immediately accessible during tough times and has strong emotional impact. But it needs a history of achievement, can make you dwell on the past, can make your identity too reliant on performance, and might not apply to completely new situations. Cognitive reframing is flexible for new situations, targets thoughts, offers a system for reinterpreting challenges, and is good for tackling negativity. But it takes mental effort, can feel forced, and its abstract nature sometimes reduces its impact. Mindfulness is great for present awareness without judgment, reducing rumination and worry. It boosts awareness of inner resources and psychological flexibility. But it needs consistent practice, can initially increase discomfort, is less directive, and might seem passive in achievement-oriented contexts.
It sounds like each has its place. Could you integrate them?
Absolutely. The magic is combining them to leverage strengths and compensate for weaknesses. Mindfulness provides a present moment awareness foundation. The cookie jar adds readily accessible, evidence based motivation. Cognitive reframing gives you tools to reshape thoughts for a more adaptive view. We can create an integrated resilience system, or IRS. It has three phases: foundation development, where you cultivate mindfulness, build a detailed cookie jar, and learn to reframe negative thoughts. Integration training, where you practice using the techniques sequentially, develop transition cues, and expose yourself to challenges to practice and assess. And real-world implementation, using the ENC protocol, mindful moment, achievement access, and cognitive optimization. Start with mindfulness for perspective, then access relevant cookie jar memories and optimize your interpretation of the challenge using reframing. This ENC protocol can be used preventatively during a challenge or for recovery.
A truly holistic toolkit for mental toughness. What about when someone faces a major setback? How can the cookie jar help them recover?
That needs a more sensitive approach: the Cookie Jar Restoration Protocol, or CJRP. We broaden the definition of a cookie to include partial wins, perseverance, resilience, and lessons learned from tough times. We also recalibrate the time frame, focusing on pre-setback achievements without harsh comparisons. We celebrate small wins and recognize past patterns of overcoming setbacks. Crucially, we integrate techniques to combat negative self-talk, pairing positive memories with thought interruption, generating counter-evidence, and developing phrases to shift to a more balanced view.
It's a gentler, more supportive approach to rebuilding confidence.
Exactly. The CJRP has three phases. Psychological safety establishment focuses on self-compassion, permission statements, and contextualizing the setback. We identify negative narratives, document the thoughts, and start a modified cookie jar practice emphasizing resilience, small wins, and transferable skills. Rebuilding the achievement narrative involves strategically selecting cookies that show overcoming adversity, persistence, adaptability, and learning. We use a negative thought pairing protocol, linking negative thoughts to counter evidence from the cookie jar. We also build a system to accumulate and celebrate small wins. Return to performance integration involves a progressive challenge protocol with planned access to relevant memories. We use specific techniques like the comparison break, evidence first, and recovery normalized mindset. We address common negative self-talk patterns like "I've lost all progress," "I'll never get back," etc. by developing personalized trigger recognition strategies, interruption phrases, and counter evidence from the cookie jar. We use tools like a negative to narrative bridge document, a microachievement tracking system, and a context reset practice protocol to support this process.
It's like carefully choosing the right cookies to provide support during rebuilding.
Now let's talk about project management. How can the cookie jar be used throughout a complex project?
We can use an evolving cookie jar project management framework. Each project phase has unique psychological challenges, so the cookies we use should evolve too. In phase 1 initiation, common challenges are uncertainty, overwhelm, self-doubt, and paralysis. We need foundation cookies, memories of successful project starts, providing direction, defining scope, and forming teams. We encourage pre-project sharing of these, create an initiation cookie jar document, review them before decisions, and have daily personal reviews during the first week. We also document early wins and create project-specific categories for the cookie jar.
So build that initial momentum and sense of capability. Right. In phase 2 development, challenges include maintaining momentum, staying focused, and managing fatigue. We need endurance cookies, memories of sustained efforts, focus, consistent work, and priority management. We collect and share these weekly, create a visual tracker with achievements, incorporate cookie time into meetings, and do daily reviews. We also add current wins and develop a shared language around cookies. In phase 3, obstacle navigation, challenges are setbacks, resource constraints, deadlines, and morale. We need resilience cookies, memories of overcoming obstacles, innovative resource use, meeting deadlines, and recovering morale. We have a protocol for reviewing these, a resilience repository. Use past wins for problem solving and have daily reminders of past resilience. We integrate current successes, create obstacle-specific templates, and have a rapid access system. Finally, in phase 4, completion, challenges include perfectionism, completion anxiety, uncertainty, and lack of recognition. We need completion cookies, memories of successful finishes, closure, transitions, and satisfaction. We review these, document everything, recognize contributions, and plan transitions. We extract transferable elements, create achievement summaries, and make future projections. We use phase-specific templates, a cross-phase integration protocol, and a system for balancing individual and team achievements. We conduct phase transition reviews, have project-to-project knowledge transfer, and even consider an organization-wide taxonomy of challenges and cookies.
This is a brilliant way to add psychology to project management. Now, what are some potential downsides of the cookie jar?
One is achievement identity contingency, where self-worth gets tied to past successes, especially during transitions or setbacks. This is risky for achievement-oriented people. Signs are struggling to separate worth from achievement, anxiety without recent success, avoiding challenges, or fixating on a flawless narrative. Another is cognitive distortion reinforcement, where focusing on successes leads to dismissing concerns, unrealistic risk assessment, less learning from mistakes, and confirmation bias. This is risky for perfectionists or those in high-stakes situations. Another is past orientation imbalance, where clinging to past successes hinders adapting to new realities. This is more common later in careers or during shifts. Signs are resisting new strategies, over-relying on past approaches, less innovation, and resistance to new perspectives. Then there's false equivalency errors, assuming success in one area equals competence in another. This is risky during transitions, interdisciplinary work, or rapid advancement. Signs are overconfidence, failing to see the nuances of new contexts, applying wrong strategies, and resisting prep. Lastly, there's diminished collaborative capacity, where focusing on individual achievements hurts teamwork. This is risky in leadership, teams, or mentoring. Signs are reluctance to delegate, less acknowledgement of others, less sharing, and being less receptive to feedback.
When could the cookie jar be counterproductive?
It might not be helpful in completely new situations with no relevant experience. It could be counterproductive early in recovering from identity-threatening failures, as it might highlight the contrast with past abilities. When transformative change is needed, clinging to past successes can hinder evolution. For beginners in a new skill, they might not have enough cookies yet. And in collaborative innovation, overemphasizing individual achievements can stifle new ideas.
So how do we avoid these pitfalls?
We can use specific strategies. For achievement identity contingency, we promote identity integration by including value-based cookies, focusing on process values like courage and integrity. We also use an identity expansion protocol to recognize inherent qualities and adaptive responses. This might mean dedicated sections in the cookie jar for non-performance aspects and practicing affirmations of worth unrelated to achievements. For cognitive balance, we integrate reality testing by including evaluations of successes and failures, lesson cookies, context documentation, and nuanced attribution. For past orientation imbalance, we use a present-focused protocol with mindfulness, application bridges connecting past to present, forward-thinking questions, and future-directed planning. For false equivalency errors, we use a transferability assessment protocol to analyze past achievements, identify skills, evaluate their relevance, and plan testing and adjustment in new contexts. For collaborative capacity, we use a shared cookie jar protocol with regular sharing of achievements, collaborative documentation, team-based access, and recognizing individual contributions. Finally, an advanced integration strategy, like the Balanced Achievement Perspective (BAP) model, considering the context, values, time, and collaboration, can help ensure the cookie jar stays beneficial.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive into the cookie jar. It's more than just reminiscing. It's about building inner resources for motivation, resilience, and well-being.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing, valuing, and using your history of overcoming challenges as a source of strength for the present and future.
Listener, we encourage you to think about your own mental cookie jar. What are your key cookies, and how can you build on them and use them to face challenges and achieve your goals?
Explore the techniques and integrations we discussed. Think about how they fit your situation.
Our final thought for you. How might consciously building and using your cookie jar change how you approach obstacles and define your capabilities? Think about that. Until next time.